Today we're doing Math 6, Mission 6, Lesson 15, Equivalent Exponential Expressions. All right, so we're going to investigate expressions with variables and exponents. All right, answer the questions about exponents. Find the value of 3x, 3 to the power of x, and 1/3 to the power of x for different values of x. Okay, so what we're doing today is we're going to take this and plug it into the x, okay, like this. So for this first one, it would be 3 to the power of 1. Well, 3 to the power of 1 means one copy of 3 that we're multiplying. So our answer would be 3. Okay. The next one is 3 to the power of 2, because this 2 becomes our x. So we have 3 to the power of 2, and that would be like saying 3 times 3, which is 9. The next one is 3 to the power of 3, so that would be like saying 3 times 3 times 3. Well, we know 3 times 3 is 9, 9 times 3 is 27. Then our last one is 3 to the 4th. So that would be like doing 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. So we know 3 to the 3rd is 27, so we're going to do 27 times 3, which gets us 81. Let's go to the other side. This is 1/3 times x. So that would be like 1/3. Oh, it's saving. Hold on. That would be like 1/3 to the power of 1. And we put it in parentheses because that power of 1 goes to our top number and our bottom number. If there was no parentheses, if it was just like this, then we would only do that exponent to the top. Okay, but when it's in parentheses, it means to do it to the top and the bottom. So 1/3 to the power of 1 is 1/3. Now here we have 1/3 to the power of 2. So that would be 1/3 times 1/3. And 1 times 1 is 1, and 3 times 3 is 9. So this answer is 1/9. 1/3 squared is 1/9. And then the next one would be 1/3 to the power of 3, or cubed. So that would be 1/3 times 1/3 times 1/3. 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27. So this answer is 1/27. And then finally, we have 1/3 to the power of 4, which would be 1/3 times 1/3 times 1/3 times 1/3. 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. 27 times 3 is 81. So we have 1/81st. Okay, what patterns do you notice? Well, I notice for my red, right, is that when we have 3 to the x, right, as the exponent increases, right, the value increases. So we go from 3 to 9 to 27 to 81. It increases as we go down, as our exponent gets bigger. For our 1/3 to the power of x, as our exponent increases, our value actually decreases, right? It goes down because 1/3 is larger than 1/9, which is larger than 1/27, right? So if I had 1/3 of a pizza, right, that's going to have a lot more than 1/81st of a pizza, right? Which I can't even do. I can't even get it that small, right? So 1/81st of a pizza. Okay, so this actually decreases. It gets larger going this way. Okay. Also, you might have noticed that these two columns are reciprocals. Oh no, Let me open that back up. So a reciprocal is when the number then becomes 1 over that number, right? So we have here, these two columns are reciprocals. So 81 to 181st, right? Okay, let's keep going. Evaluate each expression for the given value of x. All right, so if I have 2 times x squared, whatever x is, I'm going to, PEMDAS says I need to do exponents first, then multiply. So this number, just so that we all remember, this number is called a coefficient. Okay? And then the x is called a variable. All right, so if I said x was 3, then this would be 2 times 3 squared. And PEMDAS says I have to do parentheses first, then I have to do exponents, then multiplication and division at the same time. Oh, no. Where is it? I'm having trouble finding where I'm at. There we go. So if I had 2x squared and x was 3, right? PEMDAS says that I have to do exponents first, then multiplication and division, right? So if I have 2 times 3 squared, because I've put that 3 into my x, I have to do this term first before I can multiply. So I would do 3 times 3, which is 9, and then I would multiply by 2. 2 times 9 is 18. Okay? And I'm going to erase that. I don't know if I can move that or not. I don't think I can. But I'm going to erase that. I'm going to move this over here. So 3 times 3 is 9, and then 2 times 9 is 18. Okay? All right, let's go on. So it says 3x squared when x is 10. So that would be 3 times 10 squared. 10 times 10 is 100. And then I would do 3 times 100, which is 300. So my answer to 1 is 300. Okay? Then this one says 3x squared when x is 1/9. So that would mean 3 times 1/9 squared. So I would do 1/9 times 1/9, which is 1 over 81. Then I would take that and multiply it by 3. So that would be like really doing 3 over 1 times 1 over 81. So 3 times 1 is 3. 1 times 81 is 81. So my answer would be 3 over 81. But guess what? 81 can be divided by 3. So 3 over 81 can be reduced to 1 over 27. Okay? So my answer here is 1/27. All right. Let's keep going. X to the third over 4 when x is 4. So that exponent right there, right here, this exponent only applies to the x. It does not apply to the 4. Okay? So we have, it gets jumpy the further into this we go. All right, so we have 4 cubed over 4. So this is really 4 times 4 times 4 over 4, okay? Now, we can reduce before we do this. So we can take this 4 and this 4 because 4 over 4 is 1. So that really leaves us with just 4 times 4. And 4 times 4 is 16. So our answer here is 16. Okay, then let's keep going. Let's go to number 4. X to the third over 4 when x is 1/2. So we have 1/2 cubed over 4. So this is really 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2 over 4. Well, 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. So we have 1/8 over 4. And really, we can write that 1/8 divided by 4. So we keep 1/8, we change to multiplication, and we flip, or we multiply by the reciprocal. So 1 times 1 is 1. 8 times 4 is 32, right? So this is really 1/32. Okay? Then we're going on to the next one, which is 9 plus x to the 7th when x is 1. So this is really 9 plus 1 to the 7th. Well, guess what? When you do 1 times anything, it's going to be, so 1 times 1 times 1 is the same as 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1. So that is 1, and 9 plus 1 is 10. So our answer here is 10. Okay. Then we have 9 plus x to the 7th when x is 1/2. All right. So we're going to do 9 plus 1/2 to the 7th. So that's 1/2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 16 times 2 is 32. 32 times 2 is 64. 64 times 2 is 128. So this is 1 over 128. Okay. And then we have 9 plus 1 over 128, which really equals 9 1/128. Okay. So our answer here is 9 and 1 over 128. All right, let's continue. The next one says, find a solution to each equation in the list that follows. All right, so we're going to look at these things and try and figure out what the answer is. So if I said x squared equals 100, we need to find out what x is. Okay, so x squared would really be x times x equals 100. So we have to find the same number times itself to equal 100. Well, a solution that they give could be 10 or 50. So does 10 work? Well, let's plug it in for x. That would be 10 times 10, and 10 times 10 is 100. Now, why would they give 50 as a possible solution? Well, I'll tell you. Because what they're doing is when we do 50 times 50, that is not going to be 100. 5 times 5 is 25. Add 2 zeros onto the end, that's 2,500. 50 times 50 is 2,500. But what they're saying is, oh, what if you did 50 times 2? Because there are two x's, right? But 50 times 2 is 100, but that's not what we're looking for, because really x squared means x times x, not x times 2. So that is not a solution. 50 is not a solution. 10 is our solution, okay? So that's what we're trying to do here. Now, we have a list down here that shows that. So we have 1 through 8, and then down here at the bottom, we have a list of possible solutions, okay? So let's work this. We need 64 equals x times x squared. So that's really x times x equals 64. So if you know your math facts, you would know that a number times a number does equal 64. But let's say you don't. So let's do this. 6 times 6, that's 36. 7 times 7, that's 49. 8 times 8 is 64. So our solution to 1 is 8. X equals 8. Okay. Now let's go here. 2 says 64 equals x to the third. So that's x times x times x to equal 64. Now we know that 6 times 6 is 36. If we did another 6, that would be way too much. It would not get us 64. All right, so let's try maybe 5 times 5. 5 times 5 times 5. 5 times 5 is 25. 25 times 5 is 125. That's way too much. Let's do 4 times 4. 4 times 4 times 4. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 4 is 64. So x here is 4. See how that's working? Let's keep going. 2 to the power of x equals 32. So that would be 2 times 2 times 2. Keep going, right? We don't know exactly how many, but that's what we need to figure out. So how do we do that? Well, we're going to do it one step at a time. 2 times 2 is 4 times 2. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 16 times 2 is 32. And our answer is 32. So what's the power that the 2 has to go to? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here, x equals 5. And that looks like 2 to the 5th power. This is our x answer. Okay? All right, let's keep going. We're going to do x equals 2/5 to the power of 3. Well, this is easy because we just have to solve for x. So 2/5 times 2/5 times 2/5, because these are 3 copies of 2/5 multiplied together, right? So 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 5 times 5 is 25. 25 times 5 is 125. So we have 8 over 125 as our answer. Okay? So x here equals 8 125ths. Okay? Let's go, and you can see that answer here, right? Let's go on to our next one. 16 ninths equals x squared. So x times x has to equal 16 ninths. Well, this might sound hard. Hold on, I have to sneeze. Excuse me. But what you really need to do is look at what times what equals 16 and what times what equals 9. Well, I know 4 times 4 equals 16, and I know that 3 times 3 equals 9. So x has to be that, right? Because x times x equals 16 ninths. So x equals 4/3. Okay? A lot of this is just reasoning. All right, 6 says 2 times 2 to the 5th equals 2 to the x power. Well, we know that this is 2 times 2 times 2. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's this one. And then we do times 2. Well, that's really 2 to the power of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So x is 6. X equals 6 because 2 to the 6th power, that's x. Okay? Let's keep going. 2 times x equals 2 to the 4th. Well, here we have 2 times something equals 2 to the 4th. Well, let's figure out what 2 to the 4th is, right? So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16, right? So if 2 to the 4th equals 16, then 2 times what gets you 16? Well, 2 times 8 gets me 16. So x here equals 8. Because if I plug 8 into x, 2 times 8 is 16. All right, let's look at 8. 8 says 4 to the third equals 8 to the what power? Okay, so let's do 4 to the third. 4 times 4 times 4. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 4 is 64. So 4 times 4 times 4 is 64. So 8 to what power equals 64? Oops. 8 to what power equals 64? Well, if you know your multiplication facts, you know 8 times 8 equals 64. So that x has to equal 2. So 8 to the second power, or 8 squared, is our answer. So x in this case is 2. All right, please review your lesson summary.